I love traveling to Europe. I mean, who doesn't? And I can't wait to take my kids to Paris for the first time this spring. It was the last European city I visited before this crazy pandemic, and the first European city we'll be visiting since the madness. One of the downsides of being in New York and wanting some semblance of sanity in my life is that I don't get to trade the entire European session. It starts at 7 a.m. GMT, which is 2 a.m. for me in New York, and I'm in deep sleep if I'm lucky. But I do get to catch their lunchtime, which is the 6 to 7 a.m. New York time, and effectively trade what we call the New York session. But back to Europe, which can be a very lucrative time to trade if you are awake during those hours and know how to trade it right. There are three secrets to know about trading the European or London Open, and they all center around the idea that the European session can be broken up into three parts: the London Open, the New York Open, and the London Close. There are unique things happening in each of these sessions that give us different trading opportunities. Let's start with the European Open, which is between 7 and 8 GMT. If you watch my Secrets for Trading the Asia video, the link is in the description. You may remember that I said with data released during the Asia session, oftentimes the follow-through may not happen until the London Open. Here's a good example in Aussie dollar. We had the Australian jobs report released. It was a great for the Australian dollar, and it popped higher. But then just as you were probably willing and coming into the market to buy, guess what happens? It fails and it gives up its gains. If you bought it, you'd be slamming the table wondering, why is it moving against me when the number's so good? But this is what happens with Asian data. Oftentimes, it is not until the 2 a.m. London Open, or basically the 7 GMT, that the momentum starts to return. It takes a while, but that would have been a much better, much smarter entry than buying post data, because there's very little move against you after you put on your trade. Whereas you put it on right at the data, it moved against you almost immediately. This type of reaction post Australian, New Zealand data happens all of the time. Then comes the European Open breakout in the pound dollar. The range high and range low is marked between 7 and 8 GMT. After this time box is set, what you want to do is you want to watch for a break of the high or low, because whatever direction that break is in, it can oftentimes be the move that continues for a few more hours and possibly even become the real move of the day. As you see, there's two examples of this happening in the pound dollar chart right here. Then there's the London Close, which is 4 GMT, or right before the lunchtime in New York. Starting about an hour before, the risk of reversal goes up exponentially. Whatever move that had been happening before, there's a very, very good chance that you'll see a complete, move in the opposite direction. What this tells us is that come 4 p.m. GMT, even if there's a breakout, even if there's a big move, fade it, don't follow it. You can see what I'm saying in this 1 hour Eurodollar chart. 4 p.m. coincides with the top of the Eurodollar time after time. And it's certainly not a coincidence. The move that we saw during the New York session before the London close basically peaks at 4 GMT, or 10 a.m. New York time. The European session is so interesting to trade. The last thing I want to say about this is that my zip trades oftentimes will set up in Europe. I'm asleep during that time, so I miss it. But we had this beautiful CAD yen buy signal at 3 a.m. on Tuesday, along with this beautiful Euro Yen zip buy signal around the same time frame at 3 a.m. on Wednesday. And then on Thursday at 5 a.m., we had this Euro Pound zip sell signal. So all of these setups really kicked off or initiated at the European Open. So, if you are during the early European hours, so if you have the zip indicator and you're watching the charts, you can catch those trades before I do and get an even better price. If you want to use our tools, like our members-only zip indicator to trade, join us at bkforex.com.